G'day and welcome to the Grow a Small Business Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Truen. Each week, we speak with an owner who has grown a business with 5 to 30 team members to something bigger. Diving into their numbers and unearthing the pain they've experienced, we explore what they did to overcome each barrier and what they would do differently from day one. Let's get into it. Welcome everyone. Today I'm interviewing Molly Rose Speed from Virtual Assistant Academy based in Destin, United States, which is in Florida, where I've never been, but I hear it's beautiful. Thanks for your time today, Molly Rose.
Hey, Troy, really happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Let's start with how we know each other. So one of your team members, Jen, reached out. She gets you on a few podcasts, so I'm glad to have you on the cast today.
Yep, absolutely. I train virtual assistants, and this is one of the best ones I've trained. She gets me out there in podcasts. So I'm using my own talent, which is
That's
great.
it. That's good. Well, tell our audience a bit about your business, what it does and how it makes money.
Yeah, so I have a training and placement company for virtual assistants. So not only do we do all the education and training for US based, for the most part, virtual assistants. We have one Aussie, by the way. But we also have an agency that then places them with entrepreneurs, online business owners.
Yep. Great. And so how does your revenue model work? Do you charge the virtual assistants or the businesses for placement?
Yeah, so we actually do both, and it's a great ROI for the students. They can make their money back within the first month or so. So the certification training program lives online. They go through my program, do a little one-on-one with me, and we have monthly calls, which is amazing. But for the most part, it's a very passive model. And then we also charge our business owners for placement. So they can either pay for a direct placement, hire the virtual assistant and pay them on their own accord, or they can pay us an hourly rate and we take a cut and outsource the virtual assistant.
Great, wonderful model. I've got 4 team members offshore, 3 in the Philippines, 1 in Pakistan, and they are all great workers, smart people, excellent work ethic. And I'm sure you would have seen in some places better than often the domestic workers.
Sure. Absolutely.
How did you start out?
So I'm a military spouse, and I was working in corporate finance and hated it, commuted back and forth. And I realized there had to be something better to life than this. So I wanted to be transient. I wanted to travel. That's like my passion at its core. So I quit cold turkey and discovered this serving entrepreneurs as a virtual assistant. And I was like, wow, people will pay me for something that I can be really good at, and I can do virtually, and I can do whenever I want. And it just snowballed from there. And had military spouses constantly ask me, how do I do what you do? They saw this glamorous life of me traveling, making money. And that's what birthed the program. And then it brought in all these entrepreneurs that needed our talent. And
when you started as the first virtual assistant, what kind of work were you doing for other people? I'm assuming mostly business owners. Yeah, super basic email scheduling, travel booking. I worked for mostly public speakers. It just kind of fell into my lap. So I would handle all their inquiries and contracting, but very simple stuff. And now it's even more than that as technology's advanced in 10 years. And what year did you start out and how old were you? I started in 2013 and I was 25. Yep. Great. Yeah. And I'm guessing you would have seen a huge jump thanks to COVID in demand. Huge. Never would have predicted that this would happen over the past couple of years. So we're getting inquiries every single day of the demand of people needing virtual assistants. Like everyone else, hiring has been a huge concern of ours. So getting the talent of virtual assistants has been really challenging. And what's the breadth of the services that your virtual assistants offer businesses? Yeah, so everything that I kind of mentioned before. So the basic general administration of email management, scheduling, travel, and now also email marketing, web updating, course creation, handling any type of customer support pops up a lot. We work with a lot of marketing agencies. That's a huge funnel we have. So they do a lot of client work on their behalf. So they're updating social media and everything that we do in our business that falls under admin support, marketing support. Great. Yeah. Do you have some key numbers you can share to illustrate the growth of the business over the last I haven't had enough coffee, 9 years.
Yeah, I always say 10, but 9 is right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, started out, we had probably 4 virtual assistants we've contracted out, and now we're over 125.
Wow.
Really hit the metal this past year or two with this type of dynamic, and it's just going great.
Well, that's fantastic. So, sorry, it was yourself that started as the one full-time equivalent, and then you built up to about round 4 and then just steadily grew. And what number before COVID roughly would you have been at, just to give context of that growth?
Yeah, about half.
Yeah.
So we've definitely gotten way more in the past 2 years than we did before. And we're selective, we select who's going to get certified and put on the management team.
Yeah. And how did your systems handle that doubling of numbers in the last 2 years?
This is something I'm super thankful for of my own experience. I'm very foundational. So anytime I have time off, I'm setting up systems and automations. So at the core of what actually runs my business is me and another full-time employee. And then we have contractors that help with social media and some of the things that I discussed. But it has been super seamless. We've had the time to be able to, if we have contract changes or simple things that are breaking, we have the capacity to go in and fix it. But for the most part, everything is automated, with the exception of some discovery calls and follow-up.
Yeah, right. Great. And I'm quite interested in this area. What kind of systems are you actually using?
Yeah. So little things like automated scheduling, automated invoicing. Some of it's manual, but I call them systems, like how the virtual assistants record their hours and toggle and then deliver us a report. And then we pop it in an invoice and it goes off, automated payment, automated reminders, every aspect of it. Also, when we onboard a new client, we're super diligent about the follow-up to make sure that everything's going well. So we have email campaigns that check in, forms that they fill out for feedback, and it kind of runs itself. No longer do you need to get on the phone and have the conversation unless something's wrong. When
was the moment you felt like you had succeeded?
Oh, I don't know that I can even say that now, right?
Well, I think it's phenomenal growth in 9 years from 1 to 127.
100 VAs. I think probably right before COVID hit, I was on a call with over 50 virtual assistants, and I was just kind of looking at what I had done and the impact I'd made on all these. All of them are women's lives, stay-at-home moms, military spouses, digital nomads. And I was like, wow, this is success to me. Financial success is great, but I think the impact you make on others for me is more important. And it was just in that moment that I realized that was, I've done it. And now that COVID made that all double, it's just been a really amazing experience.
Oh, fantastic. And what does success look like to you?
I think it really is impact. I used to think it was money, like I kind of just shared, but I was revising my mission statement, and it's to employ as many military spouses and stay-at-home moms as possible. I'm the prior, not the latter. And that's at the core of what we do. And it works. There's nothing that's stopping us from doing that.
Number one thing you'd recommend to marketing a fast-growing business?
I would say, not to beat a dead horse, but I would say during your slow time, it's the systems. So the foundations. Time off is great, but if you don't have your business working for you when you have time off, it's not where it needs to be. I think that the way that technology has come over the past 10 years or less really has this ability to make passive income when we're sleeping. So look at those aspects of your business. And I think that every pocket probably has something like that. Business has a pocket like that.
Yeah. How did you fund the business?
All me. So I'm super lean. I invested in the systems to get everything off the ground and hired my team members based on production. So I didn't have to pay hourly or have this huge overhead. We're all virtual, so we don't have any overhead in the business. And it's just been profit since day one, which has been really great. Not a lot at first, but it has always been profitable.
And no other investors in the business, just yourself?
Yep, not right now. I've been approached, but we're not ready for that.
Yep. If you were to start up today with plenty of funding, would you go into your industry?
Yes, I would. I think especially in what the pandemic has done to our business, it's really proven the need for this to happen. I probably would have niched down from the beginning. By that, I mean virtual assistants that just support real estate or just support podcasts or something like that. But here we are doing a lot of jack of all trades.
Yeah. Can you outline the most stressful point in your small business growth journey so our audience can learn from it?
I think the most stressful point is when, and this has happened, I'd say once a year over the course of outsourcing, is when a virtual assistant isn't fulfilling their agreement with a client. So yes. That's our name, that's our brand. You are responsible for the production of that service. And that's been the most stressful thing. Luckily, we have a great bench of virtual assistants to pull in and talent to make up for that. But a lot of coaching, a lot of learning how to lead and get through those moments.
What area in business do you feel you've had to work on the most to add the greatest value?
I think believing that people will pay for this service at a higher dollar. I think I've had to fight, to your point when we started about the off-seas or offshore virtual assistants, we can pay a fraction of the cost versus a US-based virtual assistant. So really believing that people would invest the kind of money that US and Australian and English virtual assistants are worth has been probably my biggest fight mindset wise. And once I got through that and people are knocking on the door, I realized that that's what they'll do.
What have you enjoyed the least about managing fast growth?
I think the least desirable thing about fast growth is the exhaustion, I think, that goes into everything with building a team of 100 virtual assistants. The demand right now is greater than the supply, and that's really stressful. And I'm a yes person. So when clients come to the door, I'm like, we can do it. We'll find them. So we're really just moving as fast as we can right now. And that's been really exhausting and a big headache.
What do you love most about growing a small business?
The autonomy. Working corporate America was super strenuous and difficult, and I hated being locked to my cubicle chair. So having the autonomy to create and grow, and if I want to create a membership program, I can, or if I want to take VAs on a retreat, I can, or if I want to do tech trainings for entrepreneurs, I can do that, and I can make money doing that. And it's just really exciting. If you get bored, you create what you want it to be.
Yeah. What has been the biggest mindset shift for you in your small business growth journey?
I think getting over imposter syndrome and really, who am I to be in this role? Who am I to be impacting all these people? Who am I for these entrepreneurs to be coming to me, trusting me for my resources? And got to get through that stuff. It's all mindset.
Comes up a lot in the podcast. It's more common, I think, than what a lot of people believe it is.
I think, and it's something people, well, it's good. People talk about it, but it's not like I talk about it to friends or parents or people like that. It's something we all probably live with as entrepreneurs.
What is the number one habit you think a small business owner needs to develop and maintain?
Mm-hmm. I think that the number one habit someone should have is to put themselves first. This is something that took me a really long time to learn. And just this week I was practicing it. I was chatting with a fellow colleague, and I said, I woke up this morning and I put myself first. I meditated, did my morning routine that we all talk about doing, but probably rarely do. And everything just goes better, when you can get those important things out of the way, or stop work at the end of the day and be with your family or cook dinner or do what makes you happy.
Yeah, it's hard when you love what you do so much to turn off or stop working, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And it's important. Otherwise you just get burnt out and you end up hating the job you created for yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. Want to become the best manager you can be? Check out our Kick-Ass Manager course at growasmallbusiness.com. Do the course and add your fellow managers for no extra cost. Join the 30%. 70% of people quit their job because of their manager. This is a great question for you. Can you talk to how you've added people to the team, some wins, mistakes, and advice for those listening?
Yes. So this is where we've had to get really creative because we're looking for a top talent of virtual assistants and hopefully making an impact in the mom, military spouse space. So recent wins, we go to where our customer is or where the talent is. We've been partnering with military bases and presenting on bases and getting in with what we call air and family readiness over here. And it's been huge in attracting talent, attracting virtual assistants into our space and super meaningful for us. But advice-wise, I think you got to go where the talent is, meet them where they're at, hang out where they're at, network where they're at, and find them.
So I think you said about 127. What they all wouldn't be full-time, would they?
No. And actually a lot of what we're pushing are fractional virtual assistants. I love that term that people are using. So a lot of them stack, 5 hours here to make up to about 30 hours is probably the average of what a VA works.
Okay. So it's still around 90 or around 80 or 90 full-time equivalents. And that's amazing.
Yeah. Yep. It is.
What are some things you recommend to building a sustainable kick-ass culture to help with the growth? It must be hard having such a big and virtual team.
Yes. So I host team calls on a monthly basis. During COVID, we did them 2 times a week. And it's all about celebrating your team. We do a lot of coaching because things go wrong. People have life events that affect their work, but really celebrating and lifting people up and highlighting them. I might do a training on how to ramp up your social media, and I'm highlighting how virtual assistants in our community are doing that. And it just goes a long way. Or setting up mentorship within our groups has been really cool, or little mastermind groups. We've done a lot of things like that.
Tell our audience how you've handled balance.
This is something that I learned, definitely burnt myself out at the beginning, which I'm sure a lot of people do. So I go to a lot of retreats. I try to do 3 or 4 a year, and that's super important for me to just take time for myself, write down what I actually want out of my life, how I want to be spending my days. I often say, if you look at your calendar and you don't like what it looks like, you're going to dislike what you're doing and how you're spending your life. So that gives me a time to really recalibrate and intentionally put things into my life. Like I love to play the piano I have to my left. I love to cook dinner. I love to travel. So I'm scheduling those things into my calendar so that I do them.
How much professional development have you invested in yourself over the years?
So I love professional development. I'm a huge I'm in the Jack Canfield community. He wrote The Success Principles, great book. And
did he write Chicken Soup for the Soul?
Yes, he's also the founder. Yep. And just really simple application, but that's been my one outlet, at least for the past 3 or 4 years after attending a conference he did. So I regularly do his programs. I'm super invested in that group. And then I read a lot of books. I go back and forth every month. I read a self-help book or I read my own personal books. I think that's super important. And then podcasts like your own, super important to keep doing when you walk and drive around.
That's it. Absolutely. Have you had mentors or coaches along the way?
Yes, I've had a lot of mentors. My current mentor is actually the former president of Chicken Soup for the Soul, Patty Aubrey. And after finding her and honestly cornered her in a bathroom at a Canfield event. And I was like, this is who I am. This is what I do. And the next thing I know, she had me up on stage when she heard I trained virtual assistants. It's been amazing. I invested in her as a coach to start. Now we're good friends. And it was a game changer that I didn't see coming.
You have a board of directors or advisors?
I don't have an official board of directors. I have key 5 people that I probably go to for particular advice in different buckets, but yep.
All right, Molly Rose, one of our final 5 questions. What do you think is the hardest thing in growing a small business?
Mentioned this earlier, but I think imposter syndrome is probably the biggest thing for me. And then not forgetting to celebrate the success. So taking that a step further, when really great things happen, I don't share it. I don't put it on my LinkedIn. I don't share it in social media. And I see other people do that. And I think they're bragging or something, or might think they're bragging. And it's like that creates growth to me. And I think that's probably the hardest thing, just celebrating the great things that we do in business.
Yeah, it's not natural for me. I'm really shit at it, particularly internally with the team, because it's the way I'm wired. It's like, right, that's project's done or that goal's achieved. What's the next one?
Yeah, you move on.
It's really important to stop, particularly to celebrate with your team, but also, as you said, share it on socials with the rest of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Favorite business book which has helped you the most?
So I'm going to use Essentialism by Greg McKeown. Love this book. I read it probably once a year, and it just reminds me to clean the clutter and stay on track.
Any great podcasts, online learning tools you use for your own professional development?
Prof G podcast. Have you heard of that? Scott Galloway, he's a NYU marketing professor, and I religiously listen to it. I think it's a fantastic podcast, a lot about marketing, big company stuff that you can take and use to your own advantage.
One tool you'd recommend to help grow a small business?
My number one tool is Asana, for obvious reasons. I manage virtual teams and we need to communicate and have transparency. So if you're not using something like Trello or Asana, it's a game changer.
Finally, my favorite question. What would you tell yourself on day one of starting out?
I think the number one thing is don't be afraid to take risks. The biggest one for me was I never took a loan out. I said I kind of self-funded this, but imagine how I would have scaled if I would have had money to begin with. And I think that there's some statistic in the States for women that like only 5% of female business owners take out a business loan, where 90% of men do. It's very interesting. I might have my stats off a little bit.
That's phenomenal. That's huge. And for context, because I looked this up a couple of years ago and I decided to go 50-50 male-female gender on the cast. In Australia anyway, only 36% of small businesses are owned by females. So you already, that I was surprised with that.
Yeah. And then we don't even invest in ourselves. We just bootstrap and struggle. And that's really, so ultimately just believe it'll work and invest in yourself.
Right. Well, thanks very much for your time today, Molly Rose. I've really enjoyed the chat, and I think the audience will get a lot of value out of it, and really appreciate you coming on. And phenomenal growth, going from 1 to 80 or 90 full-time equivalents now in 9 years is amazing. So congratulations.
Thank you so much, Troy. Happy to be here, and good luck to everyone.
That's it. Thanks for listening. Please leave a review in iTunes or whatever platform you listen to us on. It means more small business owners will find our cast and help people with their business growth journey.